phenomena: a rebellion, the introduction of the Reformation, and the elevation of Ireland to the status of a kingdom to be governed by English and later British monarchs. Ireland at this time was on the brink of radical change. This introduction is intended to offer a brief overview of the country that was about to be changed. Land. Ireland is an island on the western fringe of Atlantic Europe, and like much of this region, it is a creation of the last ice age. Despite its northerly location, transatlantic currents, the Gulf Stream, emerge from the Caribbean to warm the waters of Britain and Ireland, producing a mild but damp climate. Ireland is relatively small. Only 486 kilometres separate its northernmost and southernmost points, and 274 kilometres separate the furthest points on the eastern and western coasts. Yet this relatively small landmass contains a great deal of geographical and ecological diversity. Limestone underpins most of the Irish landscape, with volcanic rocks such as granite appearing on the eastern and western fringes, and sandstones comprising much of the northern coastline. The withdrawal of the ice sheets 12,000 years ago has left rich layers of glacial soil utilised as farmland in much of the south and east, along with a distinctive range of small glacial hills, the so-called drumlin belt, stretching across the north and northwest. The interior is a mixture of lowland and upland, with central plains surrounded for the most part by uplands and relatively low mountains, most of which are found near the coast. Peat bogs are a significant feature of the Irish landscape. These decayed remnants of ancient forests are most evident along the Atlantic coast and in the more sheltered Midlands. Broadly speaking, two geographical zones can be discerned on the island: the relatively rugged and wetter west and northwest, and the drier, less challenging and more fertile east and south. People. Such is a thumbnail sketch of the physical environment. What of the peoples who have lived on it and left their imprint? Ireland was first populated from continental Europe in the millennia after the last ice age, though much about the earliest settlers remains unknown and unknowable. This changes as we move closer to the present. Ireland was settled by waves of peoples in the pre-Christian era, most famously the so-called Celts, and there is extensive evidence of sophisticated pre-Christian settlement. The Céide Fields in County Mayo on the west coast offer the oldest evidence of land cultivation in Western Europe, dating from circa 5000 BC. The huge megalithic tombs of the Boyne Valley in County Meath, near the east coast, were built between 4000 and 3000 BC, and they remain as impressive monuments to another vanished civilization. New arrivals brought new cultures, new languages, and new beliefs. Beginning in the 5th century AD, missionaries from Britain and the continent brought Christianity to Ireland, most famously by the Briton Patricius, Patrick. But by the 8th century, an indigenous Irish culture, woven from a variety of strands and usually termed Gaelic, can be discerned. Gaelic society was militaristic, pastoral, and profoundly aristocratic, with its own language and dialects thereof, and a distinct intellectual and cultural life. A vernacular epic such as the Táin is one manifestation of this. The existence of distinctive traditions of law, details of which have been preserved in tracts dating back to the 7th century, is another. Other cultural, intellectual and religious traditions acquired a foothold in Ireland over time. Irish Christian monasteries located on the fringe of Europe became centres of learning after the fall of the Roman Empire, and later served as missionary powerhouses that exported Christianity back to the continent in the early Middle Ages. The distinctive illustrations of the famous Book of Kells demonstrate the fusion between the new faith and the society it had become a part of. But links forged across the sea went both ways. From the end of the 8th century, the Scandinavian raiders known as Vikings were attacking the Irish coast, and their establishment of bases from which to strike further inland laid the basis for the development of most